Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and I know I reviewed this film once a long time ago as part of my 69 favorite horror films list, and to be honest, this is one of those films that I grew up with as a child, and day after day I love more and more. Well, not day after day, because I don't watch it every day, but I'd be willing to watch it every day. It's one of those, without a doubt, one of my favorite horror films of all time, and from that, when I did that list way back then, it's gone up. And it pretty much shares the top spot with John Carpenter's The Thing for different reasons, because they're two different movies. They have similarities, but of course that is The Blob from 1988. Now I say differences because John Carpenter's The Thing is much more of a suspenseful, scary, everything just works right in that film. This film is just insanely entertaining for me. This is my kind of creature feature special effects. I mean, I would go on a long review for this film because I feel this film is extremely underrated, extremely overlooked. Is I don't know. I'm one of those guys that cry foul on remakes, and yet two of my favorite horror films happen to be remakes. John Carpenter's Thing in this film, so I know it's me pretty much being two-faced, but these were remakes that I understood why they were made. Either they were based more on the short story, or this film, uh, I feel, for me personally, is a much more better improvement of the original. But I know that there are some who disagree, and that's fine. If you happen not to be a fan of this movie, that's fine too. I'm not going to hate on you or anything, but this is just me sort of defending the film. That it gets a 6.1 on IMDb. I feel it deserves even higher marks than that. Like David Cronenberg's The Fly, John Carpenter's The Thing. I think this is a great horror film itself. Just a fun, entertaining thrill ride. But just to let you know, The Blob was made in 1988. I was stumbling because I wanted to get the year right. The 1988 film, The Blob, came out in August, and for some reason didn't make much money. I think it was about a $19 million budget and made $8 million, give or take. It was really pathetic. It really sucks. It really blows a lot of assholes. Now, the film was directed by Chuck Russell, and Chuck Russell, I gotta say, I would say he's one of those very underrated directors. The reason I say that is if you look at all the films this guy has done, like, you have the list here. He hasn't really directed that many movies, if you think about it. He's only directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Wars. That was his first film he directed. Did a great job. Without a doubt, one of the best Elm Street films. Many consider it the best. Definitely many people consider it the best sequel of the group. Just how a sequel's done right. And he co-wrote that film with Frank Darabont, who Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont wrote this film as well. They wrote Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 together. They both met working on Hell Night. They were working on the production of Hell Night. That's the film with Linda Blair, which I think I saw once a long time ago, but I have to see it again one day down the road. But they met on there, became friends, and co-wrote, helped each other write Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, which Chuck Russell directed. Then they teamed up again I think like the year later, because that was 1987, this is 1988. They're like, oh, you did great with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. How about a remake of The Blob? And so they got together and they wrote, I think, a great script. And Chuck Russell directed it again. I think he knocked the ball right out of the fucking park with this movie. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if it's because this film was such a bomb. The guy did not get word for years. I mean, it wasn't until 6 years later that the guy got another job, and he did The Mask with Jim Carrey. Fun film with Jim Carrey, entertaining film. Definitely one of the hits that propelled Jim Carrey into the stratosphere, along with Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber at that time. And then he did Eraser, a very solid Arnold Schwarzenegger film, a fun film with Arnold Schwarzenegger, very entertaining flick. And then like the last two films he's done was Bless the Child, which I have to see that all the way through to fairly judge it. And then The Scorpion King, which I have problems with the film because, you know, he was in The Mummy Returns, and we know in The Mummy Returns he sells his soul, the character, and he becomes this shitty-looking CGI creature that Brendan Fraser defeats. So it's like, I'm watching The Scorpion King, and I'm like, well, I already know the fate of this character is not that good. And it's PG-13, but it's an alright film. It has some good choreography in the sword fights. The Rock does a nice job. Not a bad movie. You know, definitely a time waster, at least a time waster. But yeah, the guy hasn't directed a lot of movies, which is surprising. And it's sad because Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Blob, The Mask, Eraser, that's a great batting average. To me, all the four of those films are good. Not even good, great. Bless the Child, I haven't seen all the way through, so I can't judge it fairly. Scorpion King, didn't think it was a bad movie. I think he's doing a film called Arabian Nights or something like that. It's coming out 2013 or 14. So Chuck Russell directed it, and like I said, he also wrote the film with Frank Darabont, and of course Frank Darabont would become wonderful director on The Shawshank Redemption, a really fantastic dramatic film. That's a film I'll review one day down the road. I reviewed it once on my old channel. That's when my computer was broken. You just had like the poster of me talking. But The Shawshank Redemption, really well done, well acted, uh, wonderful film. He also did The Green Mile, which I'm not a particular fan of The Green Mile. I think just the ending bummed me out so much that I kind of didn't bother seeing the movie that many more times. I know that's the ending in the book. I'm pretty sure it is, but it just bummed me out. So I'm like, But and of course he did The Mist with Thomas Jane, which that's a movie that has a bummer of an ending too. But definitely an accomplished director, and it's a remake of the 50s film. Now, I gotta say right now about the 50s film, I know there are fans watching this who are of the 50s film, and maybe because I grew up with this one as a kid. When I was 8, 9 years old, I'm watching this film taped with like, I think it was on a tape with, I don't know if it was The Lost Boys or April Fool's Day or Moontrap. It was some of those films. And you know what? I grew up with this film. Maybe that's why. I didn't see the original 50s Blob till like, because I wanted to give it a shot because I enjoyed the theme from Another World from the 50s. Which again, I was talking about how John Carpenter's The Thing and the Blob, the similarities are, it's about pretty much an alien life form, and the remakes of 50s movies that came out in the 80s using really high-tech, gruesome special effects. And in my opinion, they were fantastic movies. So, but I mean, obviously, a lot of differences too. But the original 50s Blob, I saw that probably when I was in my early 20s. So again, seeing this as a little kid growing up with it, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a chance. I'm 20-some. Okay, I've seen The Thing from Another World. I liked it. I'll go see the original The Blob, and I don't like the original Blob at all. I know it has a higher rating on IMDb. More people talk about the original Blob. It has a better DVD. Has special features, while this one is bare bones. And I'm like, if you don't give the original The Blob special features, if you don't give The Fly 2, which wasn't that big of a hit, which I like The Fly 2, if you don't give that film special, well, I'll get on the whole tirade because I know someone was talking about how, this film doesn't have the reasons why it doesn't have features, and I'll get to that at the end. But the 50s Blob film, I just could not get into. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Maybe because I didn't grow up with the film. Maybe because I know it's a product of its time, so I respect the original The Blob. But I thought it was just fucking boring. I thought it was, because I had seen this first, so you have some of the story, but I did not like any of the actors. Yes, I will admit I did not like Steve McQueen. I'm not even really a big fan of Steve McQueen because I didn't grow up with the guy. That's not fair because I haven't seen a lot of his stuff except I think The Great Escape like once a long time ago. So it's not fair saying I don't like him as an actor. I haven't seen enough of his work to judge it. But I didn't like him in the original 50s Blob. I didn't like the teenagers. I didn't like any of the characters. The Blob was just very slow moving and just, yeah, I'd take The Blob for free. Like if someone gave me a copy for free, I would watch it fairly and review it fairly. Because, I mean, it is the 50s, so, they can only do so much. But at the same time, I can't give it a pass in the fact that I didn't like it. I liked The Thing from Another World, because I thought the acting in The Thing from Another World was good. I thought the dialogue was very fast-paced, and I thought it had some really scary moments. The Blob, the original, just, it looked like a fucking Jello going down fucking slowly. It's like, here's the Blob coming at you. And here's dripping. And I'm like, I could walk on my fucking hands faster than this blob is moving. I could pogo stick on my dick. It would go faster than the fucking blob in the 50s. That's the thing. I know it's the limitations of the 50s. It's not fair for me. But part of me doesn't want to be fair because I don't like the movie. If I don't like the movie, then I don't care about being fair. But I don't like the original Blob at all. Again, I'd take it for free and give it a fair shake and a review, but I don't want to buy it or anything to see it again, give it another shot, only if it was for free. But and I don't want to see it on a computer because I actually want to see movies on the TV. But the 50s Blob just did not appeal to me at all. At all. Nothing about it. I felt that this film improved it in every single way, in my opinion. I mean, the plot is straightforward. It takes place in a small town called Arborville, which is sort of a place that, people go to, kind of like a skiing town, that sort of thing, but, business is down. Uh, Kind of weird. It kind of mimics what's going on now, and believe me, I'm not going that deep into it because the movie wasn't meant to be that deep. But it kind of mimics how, they're sort of in trouble. They're sort of in trouble, and uh, the snows that coming in. They really, need it for business to pick up. It's one of the small towns that most people go to the football game. And we're introduced to our characters. Like you have a football player played by Donovan Leitch, who I think he was in a Cutting Class slasher film with Brad Pitt. Uh, And then you have the cheerleader, played by Shawnee Smith, who would go on and have a lot of success in the Saw films. One of the only people not at the game is our lead, Brian Flagg, which I know Frank Darabont and such. I think Frank Darabont, he's a big Stephen King fan, obviously. Yeah, he liked the book The Stand, so there's a lot of references to The Stand. So Brian Flagg, the last name Flagg, is a take on Randall Flagg, the demonic character in The Stand, among some other references as well. But I love the scene where, he's trying to jump this place, and the way it's cut is really well done. It was cut to the football stadium, people going, cheering, ha, yeah. And it cuts back to him revving the motorcycle, trying to get up to speed, and it has a great momentum back and forth. And then he just slides because he's not going to make it. He falls down, and you have this old man going. And Brian Flagg, he could get pissed and angry, but he just sort of smiles and goes, damn. And like right off the bat, I really enjoy the cast in this movie. Unlike the 50s film, which I didn't care about anybody, yes, including Steve McQueen, I enjoy the cast of this film. And I like what they did in the script. I thought the script is really underrated. I think it's much smarter than people give it credit for, as well as this cast much more likable than people give it credit for. I know people pick on Kevin Dillon's mullet, but it's 1988. I think the mullet fits fine. I wish I had a mullet or some kind of hair. Any hair would do, but a mullet I'd be fine with. I mean, that'd be cool. It'd be like the Rambo mullet or something like that. As long as it's not the fucking achy breaky heart Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. But I think the mullet looks fine, so I'm not going to bag on that. But Kevin Dillon's character, Brian Flay, what's great about him is that the beginning of the film, you think that Donovan Leitch is going to be the hero, and he's with Shawnee Smith, but then that doesn't happen. It's actually Brian Flay, this rebellious type of guy, who's going to be the hero. So I like to play that Donovan Leitch's character. You think he's sort of the Steve McQueen character. And yes, this film has some of the same beats as the original film, but it becomes its own movie. It does its own things that, in my opinion, made sense. To one, not be a carbon copy of the original like some remakes do nowadays, to become its own movie, and to sort of do little twists on it. So you have the beat where the thing crashes down from the sky and the homeless man goes, and you have this thing covering his hand. And Brian Flage, Shawnee Smith, Brian Flage sees the guy, chases after him. Shawnee Smith and Donovan Leitch, they are driving. They almost hit the guy, and all three of them help the guy go to the hospital. Now, before I get to that, there's a nice build-up of characters. Like I was talking about Kevin Dillon, Shawnee Smith, Donovan Leitch. You have the sheriff, played by Jeffrey DeMunn, who he was in The Hitcher, the original Hitcher as well. And just like the movie The Hitcher, because I remember, I think I did a review a long time ago, someone reminded me that I thought the guy was an asshole. But I rewatched The Hitcher, the original again. He's not an asshole in that. His character's not an asshole in that movie. And the same with this. He's actually an authority figure who's likable, who's smart, and actually believes Kevin Dillon. Like later on, where he gets arrested, Jeffrey DeMunn even says, "Come on, he's just some punk kid. He's not a killer. Look at him. Doesn't even have a drop of blood on him." Like, the guy's actually being smart. He's not just the typical, "Oh, I'm an authority figure. I'm not going to believe what the fuck you say. I'm just going to act like an asshole, and I'm like I got a head up my ass." He doesn't. He actually does the right thing. The responsible thing and the smart thing and the likable thing. It makes us really like this sheriff character. You have Candy Clark, who is also in Q the Winged Serpent, among many other films. She plays a waitress, very nice gal. Donovan Leitch's buddy, which you have like you have some good humor in this film. It's not silly fucking goofy ass, oh my god, fart jokes, dick jokes, that sort of thing that you see sometimes in these movies, horror movies or what. It's like the buddy wants to buy a condom, but when he's getting it, his he's buying it from Art Lafleur, which if you've seen enough movies, you've seen Art Lafleur, whether it be in some of the Trancers films. He was in Air America. Like, Art Lafleur, if you see this guy's face, you've seen him, and it's like, oh, I know that guy. I know I've seen him in movies. So he's buying in this store, Donovan Leitch's buddy, and like a priest comes up, the priest character, which I'll get to later on, and sees what he's buying. And the guy makes up a story saying, "Oh, well, see, I'm buying them from my friend over there." And he blames it on Donovan Leitch. I'm buying this for over there. And, because I told him, if he's going to do this, he's got to practice safe sex and all that. So later on, Donovan Leitch meets up with Shawnee Smith, and her father happens to be Art Lafleur. So he puts up the paper, and of course, he remembers what the buddy was talking about, buying the condoms for his... And so Art Lafleur says, "Ribbed." Like, that's all it has to take, and then later on, he, realizes that there was a sort of misunderstanding because his buddy lied on him. And I'm explaining it poorly. It plays off much better than that in the movie. But what I like about the characters is that they have more to them than you think, and they have little twists to them. For example, the Donovan Leitch, Kevin Dillon, Shawnee Smith, they take the old man out. And you think, oh, Kevin Dillon, he's just, a rebellious guy. He has a leather jacket. But the way he talks to this old man, he says, hey, man, you're going to be good. They're going to take care of you. He talks very nice and doesn't have to. And you buy it. It's not like sentimental, sappy shit. It's, hey, come on, old dude, you're going to be fine. Like, and Shawnee Smith catches this. And sort of, looks at her and walks away. So you realize that, okay, he may have, like, a tough exterior, but he has a good heart to him. So there's more to it than that character. Same with Shawnee Smith. You think, oh, she's just a cheerleader. Is she going to be a bubble-headed cheerleader? She's going to be like, oh, I broke the nail, dead weight. No, by the end, she's got a fucking Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley vibe to her, where she gets a machine gun and goes, come on, you can do better than that. Like throwing mano with the Blob. You're like, all right, she's not a weakling. She's a strong character. And then again, the Donovan Leitch, you're thinking he's going to be the lead. He's the Steve McQueen, quarterback type of guy. But then in the hospital, you find out what happens to the old man. And this is where you get some wonderful special effects. And to give credit where credit's due, I know a guy who helped with the special effects was Tony Gardner. This is a guy who would go on to work on effects for The Addams Family, 127 Hours, Zombieland, let's see, Three Kings. He's done a lot of stuff. If I go to his IMDb page, which let me check now, he's done a lot of stuff. Let me see, what's this for? This is for the makeup department. Let me go all the way down in makeup department. Let's see. Oh, it says he's uncredited, but he was one of Stan Winston's feature effects crew on Aliens. He helped Rick Baker on Harry and the Hendersons. He helped on Gorillas in the Mist, Sundown of the Vampire Retreat, Nightbreed. He helped special makeup effects designer on Darkman. He helped on Sleepwalkers. He helped on Army of Darkness. He helped on a lot of films. Lord of Illusions, The Rock, special makeup effects guy on The Rock. A lot of movies. Helped on There's Something About Mary. Let's see, and then special effects. What does he do for special effects? Just seeing real quick here. Oh, he was part of the creature effects crew on Cocoon. Oh, he helped do the T-Rex effect in My Science Project. He helped with effects on The Lost Boys. Like, this guy's done a lot of stuff. Very talented guy, in my opinion. And other guys that need to be mentioned is Tony Garner was the big guy on doing special effects. And he ran a crew of 33 people, including artist Chet Zar and mechanical effects designer Bill Sturgeon. Wonderful job by the guys, I gotta say. Wonderful makeup effects. I think they still hold up to this day. Once in a great while, you have these wide shots that you see a little bit of an outline so that, the actor, and, especially when, at the end, when it's a giant creature, you see a little bit, like, okay, there's a little bit of outline that you tell, okay, the person and the blob maybe not quite in the same thing. But I think that's a small detail for me. It doesn't bother me that much at all. And the way I look at it kind of reminds me, okay, it's kind of just reminiscent of the 50s film, the 50s movie, and those kind of special effects. But this has so many great special effects moments, like the scene where they find the old man and most of his body is just melted away. Like, they see him, he's like convulsing, and he turns over, and like big lump through his throat, eyes going white. They see him, like, most of it's melted. And then the Don Leitch tries to call the phone, and you see this thing dripping. So when it drips, it's like acid. So you get the idea what this thing's made of. And then you have this classic scene here where you know, Shawnee Smith is looking, he's like, Paul! Trying to get her hubby. And this is a great, magnificent special effect. He's trying, and she pulls his arm off, and that's when Brian Flagg gets uh, he gets accused. But then again, the sheriff character, Jeffrey DeMunn, acts like a smart guy. He acts like he knows what the fuck he's doing and lets him go. That's again. So you have, and I know the other guy in the law enforcement is played by Paul McCrane, the deputy, which is a fun like. Brian Flay like tries to piss him off because the guy's fucking with him and does this weird thing, like with his tongue or something. He tries to just try to piss him off. But Paul McCrane, the deputy, you remember him from RoboCop. He's the guy who, you're dead. We killed you. And later on he gets melted and, you know, gets splat. He does a good death scene in this movie too. But basically, as the movie goes on, Kevin Dillon, like Shawnee Smith meets up with Kevin Dillon, and they have a good rapport between each other. They go in a diner, and like, you know, she's like, you just like everybody else, you full of shit, Flagg. And he's like, no, come on, sit down. You know, that's the first time I heard you cuss. How did that feel? Like, I think it's a really well scripted, funny dialogue. I said that wrong. I think it is well written dialogue in a funny script. I said that wrong too. Fuck. It's funny dialogue in a well written script. Fuck. Third time's the charm. Hooked on Phonics didn't work for me. But that's when you get another great scene where it's in the diner and you have this guy in the sink scene where the guy is looking, is clawed up, and the scene grabs him, forces him into a fucking sink, puts his head right through the damn sink, and Candy Clark, the waitress, is screaming, and Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith come in. His whole, everything, the fucking leg, everything goes right into the sink. Pipes are expanding, blood, the blob shoots out, and it's alive. That's what I like about it. This creature is alive. It is a life form. It's whipping tendrils and tentacles, and it's moving fast. It has a life of its own. There's a scene with Donovan Leitch's buddy, who's with this girl, is trying to get this girl kind of drunk. And the girl he's getting drunk is actually, I think, Erika Eleniak, the girl in Under Siege that you see her titties, and which is nice. And, you know, she kind of sort of helps, but not really, you know, Steven Seagal in Under Siege. That's Erika Eleniak, and she gets killed. Because, like, he leaves and comes back, and he's trying to cop a field, but he fucks up, because sex equals death. And the blob just, like, she deflates, and then, like, coming out of her pores, her eyes and mouth, and just envelopes the guy. And just really great, fantastic special effects. And then you get idea like in the kit they hide in the fridge, and you get first inclination that the thing doesn't like cold. And one thing leads to another, and you have like Candy Clark, another great scene. You know, with a film that has so many great scenes, I don't understand why this film is so underrated. I mean, the sink sequence, the sequence coming up in the phone booth where she's trying to call, and you see the remains of the sheriff, like half his face is gone, or like cheek, and like, and she's trying to, and this is like a creepy looking image that I never forgot ever since I was a kid. She's trying, and it like explodes into the phone booth, and like she explodes, but turns into liquid almost. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a top, and the blob comes in. It's like she just boom got turned to liquid. I don't mean that. That sounds stupid, but I mean this in like a way. Like it's like what it came in with such force, she like exploded. But I don't know how to describe it. I make it sound more stupid than it is. It's much better than what it sounds. It comes in. She's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's really, oh shit. But then one thing leads to another, and Shawnee Smith and Kevin Dillon, they find out, they get out there and they find out that there's this team from the government I know that's what some people have a problem with this film, which I don't really understand. Is because they say, well, in the original, it's just, it came down and it came out of the meteorite. Well, it came down the meteorite, but it was man-made. It was from the government. So they had this virus they sent up there, and then it pretty much met a life form and melded together. So it's still an alien life form. It just melded with a virus from us. You know, that meteor was man-made. The experiment test that fucked up, you know. And I don't really understand why people have a problem with that. I like that because it made it different. It made it its own. It's still an alien being. It's just melt with this virus, just amplified to 11. You know, it went out there and something happened to it, became this life form. So who knows? Maybe some type of alien life form melded with it. Maybe some type of thing. It made it this somehow, some way. And people say it's political. I really don't see what you mean by political. I mean, it's just we agree to disagree on that. I don't really understand why some people say this is too political. I'm like, watch Machete. That's political. Like, political, all it is, yes, some assholes in the government, they fucked up, and they're going to pay. And because it's not the same as the original, it tried to be its own thing, you still get the end result. Like, the Blob still looks like the Blob. Only it seems more alive. It actually moves. It kills in such very distinct, imaginative, memorable ways. It's still a ghoul. It doesn't talk. It's not like when Rob Zombie was going to remake the film. God. I would have fucking hated. He probably would have made a Blob that fucking talked and said, "Oh, school, fuck you. Before that, I'm going to get into your skin. And I'm going to fuck you in the fuck. You fuck." Like, you know, fucking trailer trash talking Blob. And I didn't want to see that. Fuck that. But that's my opinion. But it made its own. The Blob is still the Blob. The Blob isn't changed. It's not like they made the Blob purple or yellow or green or blue or black or anything like that. The Blob was the Blob. And it also brought in a welcome action element to it. Because, you know, they think they're okay. Shawnee Smith goes back for her family. Brian Flagg, you know, Tim Dillon's thinking something's up. And he's right because he goes back and realizes that the meteor is man-made and that pretty much the town is expendable. And because they put this element into there, what is the result? You get a really wonderful action sequence, which is wonderful. I made it sound like an intricate action sequence. It's just, I really enjoy it though. It's a callback to the original. He goes through that same thing he was trying to jump, only he makes it. You have helicopters and bad guys from the government chasing him. He revs the motorcycle, jumps over it, and, you know, gives like a middle finger right to them as he drives off in the distance. And because of this aspect, in the third act, you got them trying to, you know, control the town. But they don't go into it much. It's still very much about the Blob. It's not like it was 20 minutes of the film with no Blob activity. That's not the case. So I don't really understand it's too political. I don't really understand that aspect. I think all it did was make it better, make it more interesting, and make it its own movie. It had action. You got to have people with guns that made sense. Like, just the military showing up and, like, why the hell would the military just go there to that town? Like, it's better. So you got people with guns, you got gunplay, you got another element to go up against other than the Blob. And, you know, the Blob can take care of these guys. You got, you know, them trying to kill it with flamethrowers and, yeah, bazooka action, stuff like that. I mean, just calling the military and saying, "Hey, by the way, we got a Blob," and then just, okay. It'd be like the ending of the Monster Squad where, you know, the military listened to the little kid who wrote the letter in crayon, and they come because they saw the little kid's letter in crayon. And I love the Monster Squad, I really do, but that was like, what? They came because they believed the little kid who wrote in crayon that there were monsters. I was like, what the hell was that about? But I love the Monster Squad. I really do. But I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's strange and kind of stupid. But this made sense in a sci-fi way. It made sense. And you did even more great scenes. While he's on the way back to town, Shawnee Smith is trying to find her little brother and her little brother's friend. And, oh, actually, you have another guy who works at the movie theater played by Jamison Newlander. He's one of the Frog Brothers. Him and Corey Feldman were the Frog Brothers and the Lost Boys. And Jamison Newlander is the guy who's at the movie theater. So, oh, yeah, I recognize that guy. And this is another thing I thought was really clever writing, is that the two little kids snuck into, how could I forget that movie? I think it was like Garden Tool Massacre or something. It's a take on slasher movies, which made sense because this was the 80s. They nailed it. The way the people act in the movie, the look of the film, the look of the killer, the dialogue. I mean, it just fit perfectly. You almost want to see that movie as a separate movie. I'd rather watch this, but I'm just saying, how interesting would that be? This movie called. And I thought it was a really fun idea of having that kind of slasher film that they snuck into. I thought they had some fun with that, playing on the slasher films with the movie within the movie. I thought that was a lot of fun. And then you have like this asshole that keeps talking. Oh, well, before that, you have the guy running the projector. And he gets killed, and some guy comes in, and the guy is like melted to the ceiling. His face is like all gone. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. You just gotta see the movie. And then like this asshole that keeps talking, and the kid's trying to tell him to shut up. And one of the kids is actually, let me see, if this is this the kid, or is it? Let me see. Try to find what that kid's name was. No, that's not it. I'm trying to find out what that kid's name was. Michael Kenworthy. That's the little brother of Shawnee Smith's character. Yeah, that's what I thought. He was also the lead kid in Return of the Living Dead 2. So he's the little kid, if you've seen The Blob, the little kid, who, again, who's the brother character of Shawnee Smith. And that kid and the kid's friend snuck into it. And the kid's friend, I think, is actually the brother of Jamison Newlander's character. This asshole keeps talking. He gets yanked up, and the blob starts coming from the ceiling through the screen. It's taking people up left and right. It's getting this guy, getting this person. Shawnee Smith comes in, finds this person, lifts him up, and like half his face just falls, like stuck to the floor. Just huge gust of gore there, and people just getting fucked up. And she grabs the kids, and Michael Kenworthy, he's the kid who gets his zipper stuck. That kid is the lead in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which I'm like, I knew that kid looked familiar. Which I know that kid says that Shawnee Smith was his first crush, which I can't blame him really. But they go into the sewers, and another ballsy move with the script. I think, again, this is why I think the script is smarter than people give it credit for. It tries to play around with the original, so you think it's just a meteorite, but it's not just a meteorite. It's man-made, and you know, maybe it met a life form. Maybe the virus met a life form. And they fucked on the first date. I don't know how it happened, but you have the military aspect, but it's not 20 minutes of the military just talking with each other on CBs, you know. So I don't think it's too political at all. It's just, okay, that's another thing they add, which brings us some action, some more trouble that the good guys have to face, and brings them to the ending where you have these guys with weapons. Like Shawnee Smith, how would she get the machine gun? Just calling the military randomly, I don't think it would have worked. I think this made more sense. And like you think Donovan Leitch will be the lead, but he's not really. He just killed like that. Uh, the slasher film within a slasher film, some of the dialogue that's still in there, I think is very funny, well written. And also this scene where they kill a kid. Like the character who's the brother of Jameson Newlander, I think Eddie is the character's name. Not the kid who was starring Return of the Living Dead Part 2. This is his buddy. They try to climb this ladder and he gets pulled in. And Shawnee Smith's looking, and you see the kid, and he's like all fucked up. But they do it responsibly. It's not fucking 10 minutes of the kid being tortured. It's, holy shit, he's gone. Oh my god, he's dead, he's fucked up, he's gone again. And that's all we need. So they handle it responsibly, long enough to see it, but not too long to dwell and be like, okay, enough. All right, so it's ballsy, but it's handled the right fucking way. And, you know, again, Shawnee Smith is a strong character. She's not a fucking damsel in distress. I'm sorry. I think her character is better here than in the Saw films. All she is in the Saw films is the first film she's a victim, then she a villain working with Jigsaw. Here, though, she thinks she's just a dumb cheerleader, and she's not. She's smart, she's brave, she's courageous, she's strong, she handles her own. And then that's when Brian Flight, Kevin Dillon gets in with a motorcycle, gets to her. They're in a sewer tunnel, gets away from the blob, crash, and they meet up with one of the government bad guys down there. And they have like these white suits, contamination suits, and try to get back into town. And of course, the asshole, I thought was really well played by this actor, Joe Seneca, as Meadows, Dr. Meadows, who passed away in 1996, so that's too bad. Uh, he was in our R&B singing group called the Three Riffs. He was in a movie called Crossroads, multiple appearances in The Cosby Show. He was in the Michael Jackson video, The Way You Make Me Feel. But he died from asthma in 1986. That's too bad. He did a great job as the bad guy, Dr. Meadows. And him and his assholes put a truck over the manhole so he can't get through. And they see a guy there that's one of their men. And it's fucking Bill Moseley. That's right, Bill Moseley. And a little part of my, is that? Holy shit, that's Bill Moseley. From Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Night of the Living Dead remake he was in, Bill Moseley, Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses. That's him as one of the soldiers. And thankfully enough, he has a bazooka. It's like, you know, yeah, don't listen to me, Meadows. Listen to this. Gets a bazooka. And then she's like, oh shit. Boom! Blows the shit out of the whole truck. Gets out of there. And before I go any further, I gotta give mention to the score. Because I think the score is really well done. The score is another one that sort of gets mixed reviews. But Michael Hoenig, who actually he worked with Tangerine Dream. I did not know that. He worked with Tangerine Dream? Wow. At least at one point. Oh, he also did this. He did scores for. Oh, he did the score for The Wraith. I like the score to The Wraith. And The Gate. He did score to. He worked on the music to The Gate. I'm Madman, class of 1999. Let's see. The last film was Dracula 3000. So, oh, he did games too. The Baldur's Gate games. He did music for that. I guess he helped do music for Max Headroom and Dark Skies, The District, Strange World, and yeah, the 3 Baldur's Gate video games he did music for. So, which I think were PC games. He did a great job with the score. I thought the score was wonderful. I have no problems with the score. I thought it was great. But you have this great scene where Kevin Dillon gets the M16 machine gun, and like the Paul McCrane, the cop, the deputy is there, and the bad guys, soldiers are there, and Meadows is like, you know, he's infected. He'll contaminate all of you. And Kevin Dillon's like, he has a lot of great lines. Like before, he's like, if it's a germ, it's the biggest son of a bitch you've ever seen. Or like here, it's like, come on, you think a lot of men with white suits come in when anytime a meteorite falls? The meteor was man-made, some experiment that got fucked up. You know, he said a lot better than me. And the Blob comes in and gets medals, yanks him, and you see the Blob like filling up his mask. And the guy, he has like a M16 machine gun trying to hold him up, and it breaks in half, and he goes right into the sewer. And they try to kill him, blow it up. But then you hear all this rumbling, and see all this rumbling, like, what the fuck's going on? And Kevin Dillon has this great line, I think you pissed it off. Gigantic fucking Blob comes down, starts grabbing people left and right, swats people like a fly, and when it comes back, you actually see the person on there. And again, once in a while you have a wide shot that's not the best, but I try to harken it back to the 50s film, so I can excuse that. If that's the only problem with this film has, man, I've seen films that are praised up the ass that have dozens or more worse problems than that. That's my opinion. But like Kevin Dillon, like Shawnee Smith finds out Nicole has a fire extinguisher, like they did in there. Like Paul McCrane, like I said, he had a good death. He gets broken in half, like pull through. You have this Reverend character you see once in a while. He's the only other beef I have with the film. He didn't really need to be in there, the Reverend character, played by Del Close. Because he's only in there for like a handful of times. Like he's there, like he sees the Blob coming out of the diner and he picks up these crystals, which are basically the frozen little bits from the Blob left behind, and he puts it in a jar. And then here at the end, he kind of gets some of himself burned. But as that's all going on, Kevin Dillon, because again, this is pretty much a snow town, and he gets a snowmaker truck. Now knowing that it hates, and it's just really adrenaline pad, fun action pad. It really keeps going. This fast pace. He's shooting the snow, at the Blob so he can get away from the people who is all holed up in this building, and it tips over, and then Shawnee Smith helps Flag by going like Sigourney Weaver moment, Sarah Connor moment, gets them 16. I love the music. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, you do better than that. Like she's pissed off. Dun, 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 dun. Gets to the I think it's like liquid nitrogen, something like that. It's like a big old canister that was part of the truck, and she gets like one of the bombs from the soldiers. She like pretty much starts the timer on it, pulls the pin, gets trapped. Kevin Dillon helps her out, blows up, freezes the Blob. You have the end of the movie. And granted, other than what I was saying before with, once in a while the wide shot of the Blob with the people inside, but that's like, 10 seconds at most for me that I saw. And even then I'm like, I don't care. The only problem is that the movie ends, Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith kiss, happy ending. Then it ends on kind of like a little bit of a sequel bait ending with the Reverend later on. He's burned up, and about how there's going to be like a doomsday sermon he gave. And it was like, when's the time of reckoning? He's like, the Lord will give me a sign, and holds up a little jar with the Blob in there. You didn't really need that scene. If I could find out a way to edit a version that actually synced up right and cut that little bit off, that'd be more than fine. You didn't really need that last shot of the movie, that last minute or two of the movie. But if that's my main complaint, which not a total downbeat ending, and it's just little sequel bait. If that's is that really my only beef for the movie? That's not saying much. And then it ends with a song, it's a brave new love. She gives it up like it's never been done, by a band called Alien, weirdly enough. I love this song. Oh, it's a brave new love. She gives it up But I know I've gone on for about an hour on this, but the film deserves it. Not many people review the film. When they do review the film, they kind of, I mean, it's their right, it's their opinion, but they're kind of like, yeah, yes, it's goofy, it's like, it's whatever. I mean, yeah. But I don't feel that way. I legitimately, if I can say the words right, think this is an awesome, I'm trying to find the best words to put it, a kick-ass, adrenaline pumping, fast moving, well acted, funny, better than average script, with wonderful special effects, very capable directed by Chuck Russell. Again, the script, the musical score. Oh, another guy I want to give credit to, Lyle Conway, creature effects design created by Lyle Conway. I want to give credit to him as well. And I'm not sure what Lyle Conway has done, because I should look him up. See if they're actually on Wikipedia. No, it's not. Huh, that's sad. That's not even on there. Lyle Conway. I want to see what this guy's done. Oh, I think he worked on Little Shop of Horrors. The 80s Little Shop of Horrors. Okay, he actually worked on that. Helped create Audrey 2. Oh, that's a good job, too. Oh, he helped work on Deep Rising as well? Alright. Oh, yeah, he helped work on The Dark Crystal? A lot of good stuff. But, like I was saying, I think it's just an awesome fucking movie. Just fantastic movie. I will use the word fantastic. I don't give a fuck. I know some people think I'm blowing smoke up this movie's ass. You're right. This film deserves it. I mean, other than the little sequel bait ending. And like one or two shots wide with the people in front of the gigantic blob. Which to me, that doesn't even really bother me. I just know other... So other than, like, what is so bad about this movie? People say it's political. What are you talking about political? I don't understand that argument of being too political. That's like saying Rambo 2 is too political. And I don't think Rambo 2 is too political. I think it fits there. That'd be, or hell, like Commando's too political. Because you have the Major, and, you know, they want Arnold to kill his dictator. That's too political. I don't buy that. I know there's a lot of fans of the 50s film that don't like this. I don't really understand why. Again, I'm not going to be mean to anybody who likes the original film. I can't see how the original film's better than this. I can't see it. Maybe because I grew up with it. I can't see it. Because I feel it improves on every aspect. The music, you know, having a great song like Brave New Love from Alien. The special effects, much improved. With the 80s technology that it would not work as a remake. If they remade it again, because it'd be shitty CGI shit. The special effects here work great. They work wonderful. They work terrific. The Blob actually felt alive. This script, I think, it's much smarter, funnier, and more interesting than anything that happened in the 50s film. It becomes its own movie. It doesn't rip every single damn thing off from the original film. I think the characters and acting are better. I mean, seriously, is the acting in the original better than this movie? Or the special effects in the original better than this movie? Or, you know, the script or the music better than this movie? If you feel that way, that's fine. I don't see it. I can't see it. I really can't. But maybe because I grew up with this film, but I can't see it. And the reason I keep mentioning that, I know a lot of people, especially at the time, had a problem with this movie. But I don't understand it so much that it's making me itch. I don't understand why this film's so fucking underrated. I don't get it. What is so bad about this movie? You got good characters with good acting. Karen Dale and Shawnee Smith are great. I would love to ask them, maybe they don't want to talk about it, which is sad, who knows. But I would love to ask them about this movie. as well as Chuck Russell. I would love to ask him, and Frank Darabont. I would ask him about this movie if I met any of them. I would ask about this movie. And the acting, the special effects, the music, the pacing, the film is not that long. It went by fast. I'm trying to find, I can't even find what the length of the movie is. Maybe we'll say here. Was it 90-some minutes? 95 minutes. With credits. 95 minutes. So, an hour and a half. Pretty much. That's it, unless you sit for the end credits. Hour and a half, and then 5 minutes after that. Hour and 35 minutes. Not that long. It's just a fast-moving, fast-paced, wonderful special effects, great cast, good sense of humor to it with the script and its writing, very capable writing and directing. Everything across the board. This is my kind of horror film. I want to see a horror film that's R-rated, that's entertaining, that's fast-paced, that have people I give a fuck about, that there's more to them. Shawnee Smith is not just a dumb cheerleader. Kevin Dillon is not just some asshole rebel without a cause. You see that Shawnee Smith is capable, is strong. Kevin Dillon has a good heart to him. Fun action sequences, fun death scenes. Again, great score, awesome song at the end. Unbelievably underrated movie. And I know someone was arguing with me about how, well, the film doesn't have a special edition because it didn't do well. I understand that. To a point. But not when I can name so many movies that have gotten special editions that you're like, what the hell? Why did this film get a special edition? And the reason I'm typing is because I made a list, but I forgot what... I know you're thinking, oh, you can't come up with it on the top of your head. No, because these films that got special editions, I'm like... They boggle my mind, and I'm like, why that film? Like, you know, Shout Factory, right? I think it's... Well, yeah, it's Scream Factory, which is a part of Shout Factory. For the Halloween season, they're coming out with, what, special editions of Terror Train and The Funhouse? I know there are fans of Terror Train and The Funhouse. In fact, I want to see Terror Train again, but I'll just get the cheaper bare bones one, because they're not going to have Jamie Lee Curtis on the features. If that's the case, then who the hell's going to talk about what? Maybe David Copperfield? What idea? Fuck what he has to say. You know? I think it's here. That, like, hell do I need... Oh, maybe David Copperfield. The fuck do I care what he has to say about it? You know? Oh, David Copperfield feels this way. I'm like, I don't care what the hell David Copperfield said. But it just, I mean, I know there's, I think Kentucky Contator, I know he's a big fan of the Funhouse. But that just... Sorry, that was... Yeah, that was one. That was it's actually on my video on my top 10 favorite horror film remakes, because I was discussing it with this guy, and I listed the films here, so that's why you heard my voice, but you didn't see my mouth move. But yeah, I mean, I know like there are fans of the Funhouse, and that's fine, and there are fans of other films, and that's fine. It's just those films get a special edition before this film. Really, I don't see Terror Train and Funhouse. I don't see why they deserve it more than The Blob. If they do special editions, that's fine, but I think it's only fair. Bottom line is, I think Chuck Russell did a fantastic job with this film. I think it did a very interesting movie. I thought it did a very fun, entertaining film that just did not deserve to bomb like it did. It really didn't. So I don't understand why the film bombed so much. I don't really understand why the film is so underrated to the point that you barely hear anybody talking about this movie, famous or infamous. Like, not many people talk about this movie at all. Actually, I think this is it. Yeah, he was saying that it was a huge flop. It had a $20 million budget and grossed about $10 million. And the DVD for the Blob was released in 2001. But the DVD for Alone in the Dark came 1 year afterwards. But I said, so what's your point? I said it was a flop. Other films that were flops got special editions years later. Like Howard the Duck, John Carpenter's The Thing, Hudson Hawk, Monster Squad, Night of the Creeps. Um, Then he was talking about, the Blob remake. It's not that well known. I mean, he has a right to his opinion. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just sort of defending this movie. He's not attacking the movie. I'm just saying, well, TriStar, they're assholes if they don't want to release it. I understand it's not part of a franchise, but there's a lot of horror films that are only known to horror genre buffs. Oh, yeah, there's the list. The Funhouse, Monster Squad, Night of the Creeps, Terror Train, Eaten Alive. Yeah, this film called One Dark Night, Strange Behavior, Road Games, which I love Road Games. That has a DVD with features, which I probably own. Jackal, Street Trash, which I own. Dead Heat, this film called The Child, fucking Sinjanor. A lot of Kingdom of the Spiders with William Shatner. Uh, Also, oh yeah, The Dark, a film I own called The Dark with William Devane, where this guy shoots fucking laser beams out of his eyes and blows people up. You think that was a big box office hit? That has features, has a commentary. I know it because I have it. And it's like, if those films can get it, which people know are horror film buffs, this film deserves it. That's what I'm saying. This film deserves it. It deserves it, and it's such that it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. There's one guy I know that's famous, somewhat famous. It's a guy named Joe Lynch. I don't know him personally, but he's a guy who directed Wrong Turn 2. He also he's directing that movie Knights of Badassdom, which I don't know when that's being released. It disappeared. There was an interview with him in which he talked about pretty much this was the film that got him into wanting to do movies. This was the film he saw way back when that I saw this and I realized I wanted to make movies. And I thought it was nice that he said some nice things about the movie. So Joe Lynch, I give props to that. Plus, I like Wrong Turn too. I liked it before I heard about that, but because I think Wrong Turn 2 was a fun movie. But yeah, this movie is just, I think it's a classic. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. That's why it's an over hour-long review. But you know what? I'm a big fan of this movie. Uh, I think, I'm not even sure if I'm going to put an intro at the beginning of this video because it'll take so long to buff out and publish, but either way, I just really want to do an in-depth, dot all the T's, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, because the film, no Blu-ray release, no special edition, and no respect. And I think that's bullshit. If people don't like it, that's fine. I think it's bullshit that this film gets dismissed and forgotten, that no one really talks about this movie. So, if I'm the guy that can make an hour-long review over it, that's fine. Because this is part of why I like doing this channel. Is sticking up for movies like this. That the people behind the film did their jobs extremely fucking well, and they were not appreciated. There are dozens of films out there that do a shitty job at making a movie and either get the respect and recognition that they don't deserve, or they get, DVDs, Blu-rays with best picture, best sound, extras up the wazoo and through an antelope's ass. But this film gets forgotten, gets put away in a drawer, collecting dust. No Blu-ray, no remastered version, no features, nothing. And that's bullshit. I don't care if it was a flop. There are a dozen movies that were bigger flops. Hudson Hawk, Howard the Duck, even films like Monster Squad, Night of the Creeps, Jackal, Sinjanor. The Funhouse. Was the Funhouse the big gigantic hit? Terror Train. Granted, they didn't lose money, but you can't. You tell me that how Supernova lost money. Avengers of Pluto Nash lost money, folks. And there's something on the DVD. Doesn't matter if it's new. There's still something on there. I mean, I just look at all these other DVD companies that pick up these films for DVD and Blu-ray and give features. Anchor Bay when they were doing it, and Shout Factory and Synapse. Like Synapse, they did Intruder. They did Red Scorpion. And they did a great job with those. That's what I would love. Synapse, Shout Factory. Somehow, this gets to Synapse, Shout Factory. Somehow, some way. Please. You know, this, or I Come in Peace with Dolph Lundgren, Moonchild, Walter Koenig, Waxwork 1 and 2. A lot of films out there that deserve more and they don't get it. And that's kind of why I do this channel. To stick up for films that deserve it. So that's my long-ass review. And since my camera stopped on me, it's basically like, shut up. So I'm going to finish this up because I know it's a long review. But either way, thanks for watching this long review, if you lasted this long. But it's one of my favorite horror... I would say this and John Carpenter's The Thing are my favorite horror films of all time. I would say that, because this is what I look for in a horror film. Characters that I like, acting that's good, score and songs like Brave New Love that's catchy or gets me into the movie, wonderful special effects, an R-rated tone, a good script, some fun humor, but it's not too stupid and jokey and with fart jokes and shit. Ballsy, but not so in my face that it makes me like, okay, that's too much, it's too over the top, that's too sickening. But it's still ballsy and highly entertaining. And these are the kind of movies I enjoy. So, either way, thanks for watching the review. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.